Day 651 of the Ukrainian War Map, also known as the Russo-Ukrainian War. Juzzy here, and today is another update as I take a simplified and down-to-earth approach to some of the most important happenings on the ground in Ukraine. So starting off, we'll take a look at those Russian losses, as currently Russia sits on more than 336,000 military personnel losses there, with a mind-blowing 1,120 losses in the past 24 hours alone. Then as for the Russian hardware losses, so an incredible 18 tanks, a stupendous 26 ABVs, and an unwhoppingly average 21 artillery system losses. But do take note of that tank figure, which we might take for granted these days. Because in a wider context, many analysts speculate that Russia's remaining available tanks in their fleet is somewhere between 500 and 1,000. Now, some even say as little as 400 of their most modern tanks. But even then, it's all but guaranteed that Russia does not have 400 T-90 tanks, for instance. But hey, to be fair to the pro-Russian perspective, Russia does have maybe another 5,000 tanks. And we know this because we can see them from space, left in outdoor storage for 30 to 70 years. But I do have serious concerns with what actually constitutes a tank when we're dealing with decades-old, rusted-out tanks that largely cannot even be used for spare parts, let alone taken to the front lines. But even still, there's half a chance that they would consider them as quality inventory. Then we'll head across to the map, and unusually, we'll start out in the Black Sea today, as about 48 hours ago, Ukraine shot down a Russian Su-24M Russian jet plane there in the direction of Snake Island, which is this little green dot all the way over here, so into that direction. And it was said that that Russian jet plane was just about to fire onto Odessa. Now, many Russian telegram sources also confirmed this event. And not just confirmed the event, but of interest is how they confirmed the actual incident itself and the fallout effect, really. As it was almost like them saying that Ukraine deployed some type of witchcraft to bring down the jet. As they said, quote, "The enemy has some kind of incomprehensible but very similar long-range air defense system. It might be a Patriot, but I'm not sure. The bad thing is that now our aviation, which attacks the enemy, is in great danger, and we don't even know yet what the Ukrainians were shooting with." And that's just embarrassing. They shouldn't have put that on a public forum, in my opinion. Unknown technology. Then headed back into the main map of Ukraine today, and we'll start out in the northern Donbass there today, as although usually a location that goes nowhere, but on this occasion the defense forces of Ukraine again recovered lost positions near Ivanivka, as indicated by the small blue segment on the map right there. Then moving a bit further south, the AFU counterattacked near Bakhmut in the direction of Bodanivka, so there we go, and captured two positions that were previously held by the Russian airborne forces as reported by the ISW. And although a map confirmation does not yet show, it's likely to be nearby the northeast here, which is experiencing a very insignificant level of grey zone, as you can see there. But that part is just a quick estimation on my part. Then a bit further south, as the same basic situation occurred, as the Ukrainian armed forces also advanced in the area of the Avdiivka coke plant. So move all the way right down there. And as such, forced the Russians to retreat from two advanced positions there. And there's still no shortage of Russian hardware ending up like previous assaults, just in a disaster. For instance, this picture is from the Stepova front lines right there, where we can see 2 of 4 Russian infantry fighting vehicles that were taken out in some of the most recent Russian offensive attempts at that location. Oh, and then also nearby, we saw the destruction of a Russian T-72 tank somewhere on the Eastern Front. And then, in the same spirit, somewhere far, far away, well, in the Kherson region, the AFU managed to obliterate a rare S-350 air defense system, worth about 150 or 130, I believe, million US dollars. And done so by way of 2 UAV drones operated by the Southern Operational and Territorial Command of Ukraine. Now, just as a note, the S-350 air defense system is a modernized version of the older S-300 platforms. Although the reason why you've probably never heard of these ones before is because production only commenced a few years ago. I think it was 2019. As they were designed to be a more cost-effective alternative to the S-400 systems. Needless to say, there's really not many of these S-350 systems at all. And so given all of the corruption in the Russian military contractor space, I normally think of say an S-400 as a watered-down version of what it could have been. Thus, I think of the S-350 as a watered-down version of a watered-down version. I really do. Then we'll head to the Kyiv Oblast, Kyiv capital, as for a bit of an unconventional map update, as in this instance, you'll see the video. Zelensky himself, during a morning walk in the streets of Kyiv, he posted this video the day before last, celebrating the armed forces of Ukraine, which is the date, the December 6th, which is dedicated to honoring the bravery, the service, and sacrifice of the Ukrainian military. And you also notice in the video, he says good morning to passerbys. But you'll never find a bunker rat doing something like this. And of course, I refer to Putin himself, who only deals in the currency of controlled environments. And when speaking with quote-unquote regular people, we've actually seen him use a lot of the same actors over and over again. I mean, how can you even compare these two at this point? Now, this would be impressive enough during peacetime, but extra props to Zelensky doing this during time of war. It takes real bravery and indeed true leadership. Then, as for a quick look at what's happening in Russia today, so in Tyumen, a transformer substation of the Sverdlovsk railway was blowing up. And reportedly, this was done from an internal partisan group that also informed that the Russian military was preparing to transport military equipment through this line. So the cargo train line remained blocked, halting supplies to the Russian front lines. Then, also in central Russia at Ulan-Ude, a passenger plane's engine caught fire right after takeoff. The plane's make was a Russian Tupolev 204 plane, and luckily it managed to make an emergency landing with no injury to passengers. And although for this event I can only speculate as to whether this occurred due to an over-reliance on Russian aircraft in the wake of sanctions against 70% of Russia's Western, well 100% of their fleet, but 70% of which is Western aircraft fleets. But all I can say for certainty is that Russia's air traffic safety issues are only headed down a very dangerous trajectory. Then we'll head across to some news for today. So, yesterday, the USA announced another $175 million military aid package for Ukraine. And the new package includes air defense missiles, more ammunition for HIMARS systems, artillery shells, HARM missiles, which are the ones designed to take out Russian air defenses, quite specifically. Then more anti-tank weapons and various other equipment as well. So a sustainment-style package, which currently, at this level, the USA has the allocated funding to provide these sized sustainment packages for the next 24 months. Right as the country also seeks to resolve internal political disputes on the matter as it relates to larger packages, essentially. So obviously, still not a great state of play on that front right now. But Global Psychology 101 would suggest, on the flip side, that the vast majority of European nations would see this as a threat to their very immediate regional security interests, causing them to step up to the plate with further military production and military aid that could, in the face of scarcity, ultimately create a net benefit for Ukraine's defense against the Russian invaders. As a quick example, the Netherlands pledged 2.6 billion euros in aid quite recently there. And also the UK's old and new kid on the block, former PM and now Foreign Minister, David Cameron, just made a recent statement saying that the UK's support to Ukraine will not decrease next year. Which all continues to remind me of the World War I French military commander who said, "Whoever holds out for 15 minutes longer is victorious." And as an editorial side note, I also hold the ideology that sending military aid to Ukraine has the net impact of preventing future wars completely unrelated to this conflict, due to a whole variety of reasons, which I'll leave for a later video. Then moving to another news piece, so this one doesn't really fit into any specific segment, but in any case, a new monument has been erected in Ukraine, paying tribute to a national hero whose final words were "Slava Ukraine," which is glory to Ukraine. Words that have since, of course, deeply resonated across the nation and beyond. And you might remember this utter champion who died in the line of duty and went by the name of Alex Matsivsky. And the monument not only commemorates a singular act of bravery, but has also become a symbol of national unity and resistance. And now it newly stands in the prominent public space, serving as a constant reminder of the resilience and determination of the Ukrainian people in their pursuit of a peaceful and independent future. Then moving across to a quick Russian military mobilization blunder segment. So as per a New York Times report, a Russian mother that attended the funeral for her son after dying in Ukraine was told by her relatives that her son died fighting Americans because, quote, "it would be impossible for her to understand that we are fighting against Ukrainians." And this is it really speaks to the confusing state of affairs internally in Russia. Because it's hard for many Russians to even make sense of explaining what's going on in Ukraine, even to this day, with all of the confusing and nonsensical Russian narratives. Then moving across to a bit of a lighter segment, so here we go. Just a quick video of some of these four-legged assistants of the Ukrainian military. It's almost as if the animals have chosen their side. Then moving across to a quick funny, really a bit of an off-brand funny to round off the video. So in Russia, on the border, facing in the direction of going to Estonia, there's some patriotic Russian signage that simply states, "Russia's borders have no ending." And really, a better strategy for Russia would have been to hide their expansionist ambitions. But it's really a bit late for that by now, because there is so much word in the Russian public space by politicians, military generals, and other groups at this point that continue to have this fantasy and expansionist mindset where they openly state how they don't respect borders of other countries. And so, if they can, or could, they would capture any sovereign land that they could get their hands on. And it's probably time that most accept this. And since this isn't the most funniest of things, except for the sheer insanity of it all, how about let's put those puppies back on screen? Because there's really never any need to end on a downer. So that'll be it for today, guys. Thanks again for watching. As always, please continue to like and comment as you do. Super appreciated, and all of the support as well. Absolutely. And I do hope to see all of you guys there in the next one. Cheers.